When the cow is about to calve, her nutritional demand goes up, and it will stay up until she gets bred. So we want her to calve in the best time of the year, because the breed back is determined by body condition. So if we have them calve thin and then expect them to rebreed, that may not happen. Or we will have a very low stocking rate to allow them to get fat on low grass. A good body condition is determined by genetics and the available forage. Are we selecting correctly for a natural good body condition? And when do we have the most forage available? Those are questions we need to answer, each one for his own farm. So if all your cows look like the video that I showed from Ohio in the snow, grazing non-selectively without supplement, and all of them were fat, then you're good. If not, there is room to improve. Are we measuring our natural forage offered to our animal nutrition demand on the calving to breeding cycle? Every environment has a best season for calving, and it can usually be done on 45 days, the calving season. And it usually starts 30 to 40 days after forage growth has green up. That's when we should calve. So when do we have green up here? Right now? 30 to 45 days later? That's the best. Yes?
Are you going to talk about weaning as well? Can you go through the cycle of when you calve and then how long they stay on? And then
we wean them. We calve over there in June and July, and we wean in February. But here, if you calve in late April, that will be it? Or May? May.
As close to the longest day of the year as possible.
May then. June, July, August, September, October, November, December. In December or January, you will be weaning them.
Wouldn't you want to keep them on over the winter time in that situation?
Then they will breed their moms, if they're good genetics. Remember we talked about the bull? You asked me that question. Yeah, that's the problem. You need to take them off. The females you can leave them there. If they're in good body condition, the cow.
If you castrate them.
If you castrate them, of course. But we raise bulls because we have the largest herd left of Machona. So we need to.
Is it better to keep them on milk during the winter time?
Yes.
Than to feed them?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's the best. Mom's milk is the best, always. To avoid digestive problems on the cow caused by a too little fiber and too high protein in forage, it's best to save some stockpile to graze on till the new growth of the season has matured to where it doesn't cause scours. So if you have very short grass right now, it would be nice if that short grass was mixed with the brown grass left as a stockpile. And then they can take it all down and not have problems. When it's greening up and we allow them to select, we will have a big problem with scours. So we counteract that by not allowing them to select and having brown with green together. Then it's a perfect mix.
If you do keep the cow on, how many months do you have to make sure the cow gets off before she has her next baby?
The longest I've left them with the mom is 10 months, weaning. That means 2 months before she calves again.
And 2 months is that?
That will lower your breeding percentage a little. So you have to wait which is best for your operation. If you have very low maintenance females, you can do it no problem. But if you don't yet, it's better to wean them earlier. The more tall and lanky your cows are, the earlier you have to wean them to get a good breed back next year. This will also help with avoiding too large a birth weight, as the protein excess creates a larger birth weight. It's not only genetics, it's also from excess ammonia being released in the rumen by too much protein to energy. So we want them calving at the correct time, and not only green grass has to be balanced by having some of the stockpile left at least for a month after green up. Then no problem. You see this heifer, she had already calved. She's 24 months old or 23, and look at her body condition under non-selective grazing, a higher stocking rate. That's what we're looking for. She's exceptional, number 20. I know her.
Small tits, you know, good
Oh yeah, all of them, the Machona have, not all of them, but most all of them have good teeth. The ones with bad teeth, I did discard them. We don't want them. Have you tried to put a calf to a cow with the big teeth?
Yeah.
It's enjoyable on a Sunday? No.
It was years ago when I was younger.
Not to me. I'm not young anymore. I don't like it. Well, she's a very good animal. Look at her, the fat covering. Okay, a good body condition on non-selective grazing. Non-selective grazing requires better genetics regarding nutritional adaptation. We need animals that excel on nutritional adaptation. We require cattle that are efficient grass to beef converters, and this type of cattle will excel under selective grazing, whereas the cattle that do well under selective grazing may not do so well under non-selective grazing because of higher grazing pressure, more competition. These cattle excel because they've been in Africa since I don't know when, but at least hundreds of years they've been managed by the tribe of the Shona people, where they put them in corrals at night to ward them of lions and hyena, and they were given 4 to 5 hours to graze and then put back in. So the ones that were able to be like this, they survive and pass their genes on, and no medicines, no nothing, no wormers. So now we got them, and that's a treasure, because we can use them to create composites. Yeah. And this is akin to having two groups of cattle in two corrals, like I was explaining earlier. One group is fed limited quantities of low-quality forage, and the other group is allowed to select the best and leave what they don't like. Which one will be fatter? Yeah. While a good body condition is determinant to high fertility, a high stocking rate is determinant of profitability, and severe non-selective grazing is determinant to the best species composition in our pastures. How is that? Should be the other way around. We've been taught that if we graze only the top third or half, the sun doesn't heat on the surface and we get lower temperatures in the soil. That's true. We don't want to get rid of the litter. When we graze this way, we get more plants per square yard and more litter created per square yard, not less. Yes?
Should that be modified in the summertime? Maybe that's really good to do in the spring and in the winter, so the sun gets into it, so when you have the spring green up, you have more.
If we only look at that as a department and don't look at the whole, that will be true. But we need to look at the whole. When you start grazing less of it, you have to come back faster. When you come back faster and you allow the cows to select, they will select the best species, and when they come back, which will they graze first, the best or the worst? Then you will kill your best species and end up with the less desirable species. That's not conducive to better soils. It's like if you have children, and you put in that table, you have full of children, the table here, and you put a plate full of fruit, a plate full of vegetables and lettuce, and a plate full of ice cream. And you get out, and I'll come back in 2 hours, eat a third of each. What will they eat when you come back? Cows are the same. Yeah. And the leaf to stem ratio is so important because leaf is what creates photosynthesis and the sugar exudates, not the stems. So, and it's affected by the type of grazing. The more leaf, the more photosynthesis and sugar root exudates, higher humus content, the real soil fertility. When we graze short and allow sufficient recovery time, there is a lot of leaf created. When we try to graze it half or the third or whatever, we end up with selective grazing. And the cows will eat the best plants and leave the stems of the ones they don't like much. The stems will not create photosynthesis, but will continue the respiration process, taking energy from the roots. So in reality, it's the opposite of what they have been telling us. We need to observe. And you can try it on on 1 acre, half an acre, and see. And then you can convince yourself of this. And that's it.
I want to question then on the quality of the meat in your genetics. Is it finishing on the grass well, or?
Is that finished? She just cut.
She does look good, but you know, we always hear a lot about the, not that we sell into the normal market, but that there's a discount for the ears.
Oh, the ears. We want short ears, right?
Yeah.
That's a Mashona Angus. Is that long?
Probably maybe a little longer than my.
It'd be hard to tell.
Is that long?
That's broad.
Yeah, they aren't flopping over, that's for sure.
Oh, no. I really don't like Brahman cattle. Really don't like them. Is that long?
No. Why don't you like that?
Is this long? Because they have an aberrant chromosome that when crossed with Bos taurus, they create infertility after the second and third cross, like in Santa Gertrudis, Brangus.
Brayfords and so on.
Yeah, and it happened to me. So 15 years of lower fertility because of that. So I don't like it. Yes?
Can you talk about weeds in your stockpile and them going to flower? Is that an issue or
No.
It will be.
No, it's not an issue.
Okay.
Once you start concentrating on what you want instead of what you don't want, you will not get what you don't want. That means concentrate on creating more humus, higher soil fertility, more leaf, and the weeds will be taken out by competition from the stronger roots of the fully recovered grasses and legumes.
Okay.
Fully recovered can be achieved if you graze non-selectively. If you graze selectively, you cannot, because you have to come back 3 times faster. Then they cannot recover completely. That's why we don't have, we started with a lot of dog fennel and soda apple, which is a very thorny weed in Florida. We don't have it anymore.
And when you're stockpiling your half of the farm in the growing season, you don't get it anymore?
No, because it grows this high, the Bahia grass, and it grows very strong roots. And when you graze that off, that's the best fertility in the farm. Yeah. Remember, soil fertility allows the correctly grazed species to overtake the weeds. Lower soil fertility, lower humus content, will allow the weeds to come up and take the space of the weaker forest species that have been weakened by our grazing management. Yeah.
So can you talk a little more about finishing as far as intercellular fat and flavor and that sort of thing for us?
Yes, flavor. I'm going to start with flavor. That's so important. People here want to kill their animal young, and a steer will not get the umami flavor, the beef flavor, until he's close to 3 years old, 2.5 years old. The flavor will be intensified. If you try veal, how is the flavor?
Bland.
Bland. If you kill an animal at 1.5 or 18 months, bland. If you kill him at 2.5, strong. That's what we want. Now the intramuscular fat, that's determined more by breed than by feeding. The Mashona, they can put out marbling earlier, and this type of Angus also. So this cross will be very good for early marbling. Like this one. She's 2 years of age and she already marbled. You can see it here. And the pin bones, you get balls of fat on both sides. That's when they are marbled.
You know your average daily gain?
No, I don't worry about that. But I know that at 2.5 years of age, our steers weigh 1,000 pounds. So you can deduct from that. We now only with grass and at 4 times the stocking rate.
2.5, as you say?
And the flavor is stronger, and they are well marbled.
Can I ask about the horns? You said polled, but are they scourged, or what are they doing?
Like
Cutting?
Like 80% of them came naturally dehorned or polled. 20% of them had horns, and by selecting only bulls that are polled, we are getting rid of them. Each year we have less calves that we need to dehorn. This This one we didn't dehorn properly. That's why, but she had horns, yeah.
So are you offering AI? Are you offering semen?
No. No, we don't do semen there.
Do you do any AI?
Yeah, do
No, we don't do any AI.
So, I saw Pharaoh.
Pharaoh does.
Are those your bulls?
They got it from us, but we don't own them.
But it's the same genetics.
Yes. He bought it. They bought it.
So if you want to hold cattle, how do you know if that bull is?
There can be a DNA testing. I don't know how. We don't do that. We only use bulls that are polled. You see, polled is a dominant character. So if you have a polled bull, he will throw a polled calves.
Do you know if you sold?
Let me finish. So if you have a natural polled Angus and you use a Machona, you will get polled offspring. If you have South Poles and use a Machona, they will be all polled.
Okay. So I don't need to worry.
No, not at this stage. I would suggest you all make your own compost. It's not difficult. And with your own cow manure, grass-fed cow manure, and make your own compost. And Charles here was explaining to me how a new method of making compost,
It's Johnson Sioux.
Johnson Sioux.
David Johnson at New Mexico.
You put some pipes, and so air can flow in, and then you use wood chips and material that's for fungi, because when you turn the compost, you break the hyphae, and we don't want to do that. And then they inoculate with leaves from the forest floor, and that's what we want. So I think that's a very good way to do it, and I'm going to try it. Yeah.
The amount of agitation with bacterial compared to fungal, you have to have more of a stagnant or slower moving
No.
fungal.
No, let me go back to that. Well, this is the fungi we're getting in the soil growing because of higher carbon in the residue by allowing it to mature more before grazing it. You see all the fungi there? And we had sprayed with the compost extract, with the liquid fish, which is food for fungi. And we use this big nozzle to not break the hyphae or to kill the bacteria. You see, it's a big drop as we're feeding the soil, not the leaves. This is how we make it. And here we're putting a liquid fish to the manure with, yeah, it smells bad, with hay. Adding water, correct carbon to nitrogen ratio. I had to do it by field because you don't have a lab to send it to and then wait for the results. It's more like an art, but it works. Crushing the biochar, we added biochar for the first time. Huh?
How many bales of hay?
Actually, only what was left over from the cows. We just got it together and put it back. And all the waste from the cows on the hay ring that they urinate on, that's what we use. Here you can see how hot it was. And this is the results with no commercial fertilizer, only compost extract for almost 4 years, starting with dead soil. So it does work. Any questions?
Did you ever try the Serengeti? Did you ever?
Yes, but you see, for Serengeti grazing, it's continuous grazing and apply compost extract and irrigation on Bermuda grass as long as the days are over 90 degrees. We don't have many days like that in Florida. We get like 4 months of that. So what I had done is a modified Serengeti. When they are calving, I put them like at 4 cows per acre or 3 cows per acre on set stocking and irrigate with that, and that's where they calve. So for a month and a half, they are only rotated every 2 weeks to the adjacent paddock, so they don't lose the babies. That worked very well.
Okay. And what kind of forage was it?
Bahia grass.
Jimmy, we were walking some vegetable ground, like last year or something maybe. We were talking about the difference between, it had a nice standard annual cover crop, about mowing it or crimping it versus grazing. Could you tell me your opinion on that one more time, please?
First, sometimes the questions are redundant, so I would like your opinion. What do you think is better?
If you're a cowman, grazing.
No, if you're not a cowman, but you have the microscope, you can see the difference in life in a compost made with cow manure and without it. Which will be better? Graze it down and have the manure in urine and run it through the cow that has all the bacteria and microorganisms in the rumen that are needed in the soil, or just cut it and leave it there?
Run it through the animal.
So much better. The way we got that fungi growing there was not by cutting it and laying it down. It was with cows. The cows did all the trampling, and you see, when you cut it and lay it down, it's not in close contact with the soil, all of the material. A lot of the material is above other material. And because those microorganisms swim, they cannot crawl all the way. It has to be in close contact with the soil, like in the picture. Let me see. That's close contact. And then all the nutrients in the manure, the cow goes and eats from the mineral box whatever is lacking in the soil. And if we distribute the manure correctly with high density grazing, it's returning all the nutrients plus all the microorganisms. So you can actually improve soils without compost extract, only with the cows grazing correctly. But we use the compost extract because it's so much faster. Yes.
I see the pastures getting better with the intense grazing of the cows, but it seems counterintuitive to me because it seems like there would be heavy impaction of the soil, especially I've got clay soil. Seems like I should be subsoiling or something.
Do you have a compacted layer?
When it gets wet, yeah. Yeah,
No, a compacted layer is there if it's wet or if it's dry. The way to find out is with a post digger. Dig a hole, and wherever you hit a hard pan, that's a compacted layer. Then in the hole, you can see where it is, if it's 6 inches deep or 10 inches deep.
I definitely have a hard layer. There's places where water doesn't drain.
If you do that, you will find out where it is. And then you break it with a keyline plow. And then you create conditions so that doesn't happen again. You might have to do it twice. Usually, a hard pan is created by lack of root activity. We need deep roots, strong plants. We create that with a long recovery period, which is allowed by a non-selective grazing. If not, it's impossible at high stocking rates. We can have a very low stocking rate and longer recovery periods like they do in Africa. They have like 6,000 acres and 300 cows. Yeah. But then the profits go down, as we just showed. Oh yeah, this is the fungi Meredith? Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this is a compost made with liquid fish. We added the liquid fish 2 weeks ago. And another compost that no liquid fish was added, there we couldn't find them. More bacterial dominated. Yeah. I don't know if that's all to it. I need to learn much. I need a microscope like that.
How long do you percolate your teats?
We don't percolate. It takes 1 hour since we start making it to where it's finished. 20 minutes of aerating the water to saturate with oxygen, 20 minutes to dissolve the compost, 20 minutes to put air in. That's what they breathe, air.
No, breed. All the microbes breed. I thought you let the
It's an extract, not a brew.
Okay.
We don't brew because brewing is very time consuming and can go wrong very easily. Okay. And at the end, what I want is to feed the soil. If I had an orchard or agriculture, then I would do brewing because I may use it to kill pests or to kill fungi in the leaf. But that's not my goal. My goal is to improve the soil for for moldy resistant forage plants. They don't require it. This is another sample of compost made different.
That's more bacteria.
Pure bacteria. Meredith, is that pure bacteria?
It's, yeah, mostly bacteria. There's a diversity of bacteria there, which is good, but there was no protozoa in that soil. There was no nematode. There was no fungi.
It was soil or was it compost?
Compost, my bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and we wanted more like this.
And there also were, you see those big, the big pieces are organic acids, right? And there was none of that in the other sample.
And what do we measure on a good compost? The only lab in the US that measures for humus in the compost is Texas Soil and Plant Lab. And we want it to be 8% humus. And that's what I have been able to achieve by making compost this way. When we have bought compost from other sources, it's more like 3% humus. And humus is this, as she just said.
So that was from
Could you point that out
spraying fish
again?
oil on your compost pile.
And making it correctly from cow manure, from grass. Yeah, grass. Yes?
That was how you were making your compost. When you make your extract, you're still adding more fish oil, right? That doesn't change your recipe.
It does.
Oh, it does.
Because if I want more fungi, then I feed more fungi food, which is the fish, and less bacterial food, which is the molasses. Yeah. But I have to start with good compost.
And this fish stuff is like Neptune's fishing.
That's the one I use, Neptune Harvest, yeah. It's organic and it's good price and it's high quality. Yeah. You see the height of the grass and how it was taken down? This would not be possible with cows in that good body condition if we didn't move them 4 times a day. And see the manure distribution and how the grass is taken down to produce more leaf for next time. But that grass hasn't been grazed again. That was grazed in November, and it will not be grazed again till end of May or June, because we don't get rains till then. Unless we get rains and then we graze it sooner. But it needs to recover.
Did you drill something into that?
No, I didn't. The rest of the farm I did. That's the only paddock we didn't drill.
And when you say breaks, that you mean?
Paddocks.
Right.
Electric fence.
So it's going to take me to see it, to believe it for a year or two. So based on these classes, I've grazed down to that level, but we've only been in fall and winter. We have yet to get to spring. My concern is that when this fescue comes back, if I am going to give it 100 days, it's going to grow 4 feet tall.
Yeah, but were you here in last class?
I was here last
You
week.
remember?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. I'm going to have to see it to believe it. But this is why I want to ask you. Since we have time,
We have time.
we're going to ask you again. I won't make you wrap this in blood. No. But it's the concern that when this fescue is 4 feet tall, how is that encouraging my clovers and all the other that's going to grow around it, or am I not shading it out again, and then when it starts to fall?
I have pictures to show you. A picture tells 1,000 words. But what will happen, or what has been happening, and why you get that 4 foot tall fescue, is because your cows have been coming. You've been allowing them to selectively graze, and when it starts getting hot and the fescue toxicity starts to make an impact on the cows, what would the cows concentrate on eating, fescue or the clovers?
They'll eat the clovers.
Taking them out. That's why you end up with pure fescue. We need to change that.
And that's the concern, that I'm going to leave myself what I've left over after this growth is pure fescue.
No, actually the opposite. If you allow them to selectively graze, that's true. You're going to end up with 100% fescue in 2 seasons, 2 years. That's all you need. Mm-hmm. But if you graze this way that I'm saying, this is the fescue. It's been taken down. This is the regrowth. Now you can see the small young clover there. Mm-hmm. If we allow the cows to come back and try to graze the top third or the half what will they eat?
They'll eat the cloves. They'll come back and eat cloves.
So 100 days later, you will not have this. You will have pure fescue. But if you take it down, see all the clovers coming up? This is later. And then 100 days later, we got this. Now, what we are really after is this. This is next year. Now we have warm season perennial grasses coming into the tall fescue. That's even better because we get a higher production in the summer. This is dowless grass. So we dilute the toxic effects of fescue even more. Okay, we're finished.